A good morning, a good evening, a good afternoon, depending on where you are observing me from. My name is Chozra William Wilberforce Nadiope. Most people call me Kauzi, and I'm okay with that. I double as the head of Active Farmers in YPA. Active Farmers, just to differentiate, these are the persons that have decided to take upon farming by themselves, actively participating in farming, but most especially goat rearing. So in YPA, other than you passively farming, you can also actively farm with YPA. For active, that will be a discussion for another day. Today, I'm just here specifically to elaborate about active farming in YPA. Now, this is how it goes. Somebody can wake up and decide to set up a farm. But as I told you in the very first beginning, more especially, I'm dealing in goats. I'm a goat farmer. So whatever I'm going to talk about is all about goats, you know. So when a person wants to set up a farm, there are so many factors that we put into consideration. The first one is land, and this is the prime factor. This is the primary factor we always consider. With land, you can either buy or you can hire. If you don't have land, I would always recommend you to hire land for maybe 4 to 5 years and use the money that you'd have used to buy your own to invest it maybe in the goats or the pen constructions or the pasture planting. You're together with that? That's a tip, number one. Having the land aside, we look at now what they call the pasture growing or pasture management. Now, even before I reach there, we have about 3 segments of farming in active management. The first one is zero grazing, which they also call modernized farming. The other one is free range system. And the last one is what they call the semi-intensive system. Now, each one of them has its own advantages and disadvantages. When I start with the zero grazing, this is suitable for mostly people with small pieces of land. If you have a small piece of land, I wouldn't encourage you to go for free range. Always go for zero grazing. Now, free range is whereby goats come and sleep in their pens, and at about 10, 11, when the musulo, you know, the dew in the morning dew is done, it's when goats are meant to be released out to go in the fields to eat. Then at about 4, 5, they always come back into their goat pens. This is what they call the free range system. Now, there is also what they call the semi-intensive system. With the semi-intensive system, it's a combination of the zero grazing or modernized farming and the free range. You get the point? So at about 10, goats can be released out of their goat pens and they go and eat in the fields. They can come back at 1 to drink some water. If the water is in the fields, they can go and drink from there. Then at about 3, 4 p.m., goats come back to their goat pens. And thereafter, you start supplementing with grown pastures. So in semi-intensive and zero grazing, pasture growing is mandatory. You get the point? Somebody can ask me, what is the best of the 3? What I can recommend is semi-intensive. That's if you have the land. If you don't have the land, please go for zero grazing. Why do we always encourage farmers to always grow pasture even when you have enough piece of land? People can have acres and acres of land, but still we encourage you to grow pastures, at least 1 acre or 2, depending on the number of goats that you're having. This growing of pastures helps us to cater for the unfed nutrients. For example, when goats go into the fields, truth is we don't know what nutrients they're eating when they're there. You get? But at least when they come back and I give the goats these grown pastures, I'm sure of what nutrients I'm giving my goats. They can be carbohydrates, can be proteins, can be fibers, can be vitamins. I'm intentional, you get the point. No matter what they have fed on when they went into the field. So that's why it's mandatory in most cases, if you can, more so with zero grazing and semi-intensive, to already secure off some land and you grow pastures. So we have looked at the types of farm management systems, the zero, intensive, and free range. We have looked at the factors that you're supposed to consider before starting up a farm. I looked at land. Till we go to the pen construction, we have talked about the pasture planting. And in our next episode, probably, I will come specifically talking about these pastures. What pastures are really important to be grown. If you have a small piece of land, you may not need to grow all the kinds of pastures. There are specifics that you can concentrate on, and you still your animals grow up very well. So we have land as one of the main factors. Do you have land? Pasture, growing, pen constructions. This is another broad topic that we can really talk about the whole day. People always say a raised pen construction and a raised goat pen and a ground goat pen, which one is better? People have different reasons and they are right in one or another. But in most cases, YPA, wow, we go for the ground houses. They are cheap in terms of expenses, and in terms of disease control, they are equally good as compared to the other. However, if you still want the raised pen, you can go for that. But just know it has its advantages and disadvantages. That can be a topic for another day. So we have looked at the land, the pasture, the goats. Then there is something very important that always have to put into consideration when setting up these farms, and that is the water source. Now, goats need water. Not only goats, but also the pastures need water for irrigation. So, on your farm, do you have anything like a water source? Do you have a dam? Do you have a well? Do you have a shadoof? Do you have a borehole? What do you have? If you don't have, then maybe we have to dig one or get one. So, having a water source on your farm is substantially important. This water can be used by the animals as well as used for irrigation to the pastures. Times always come when we have a drought. And it means if you have a drought, your pastures will dry completely, and that is a loss already. That's why we recommend you to always have a water source on your farm. You can dig, you can create one, you can use piped water if at all it's the nearby one. All in all, ensure that you have a water reservoir at your farm. I repeat, we have talked about the land, talked about the pen construction, the pasture growing, the water source. Lastly, now it's when we go to the animals. Now, these animals, what kind of breed are you having? Many of us go to the markets and buy goats for rearing. Wow. People always sell off goats that are stubborn, goats that are sickly, goats that have different behaviors. No one, unless of course in a problem or in a calamity or something like that. Otherwise, no one in most cases sells off good goats. No. As I said, unless maybe he's taking school, he's taking our children to the school and he has a small financial difficulty, maybe. Otherwise, in most cases, goats that are taken to the market, they always have issues. So, as YPA, we advise you, always find the best source where you're buying your breed. Go to a particular farm, ask for the records of the goats. What is the historical background of the goats? What are the genetics? What is the phenotype and the genotype of these goats? These are all things that we are supposed to put into consideration. Otherwise, even if you've grown the pastures, you've built the best goat pens, you're the best in medication, but when your goat breed is unknown or is poor, then we may not get the results that we are looking for. What am I saying? Always know where your goat breed is coming from. It is substantially important you knowing where exactly your breed is coming from. Unlike for YPA, when you come in, we shall always tell you that the YPA breed is a combination of Boa, Kalahari, and Mubende. So our breed always has those three properties in them, and each one of them has its own advantage. The Boa, we all know, it has good meat and grows so well. The Kalahari, this goes for the bones, the skin. Then the Mubende, this is the Ugandan breed. This helps us to be able for this goat to withstand the Ugandan climate. You get the point? Because we all know Mubende goats are resistant. They have a stronger immune system. So that's why we incorporated the Mubende into our breed. Land, goat pen, pasture growing, water reservoir, and the kind of breed that you are bringing onto your farm. Those 5, you put them into consideration before starting any farm. And I can assure you that YPA can help you. YPA can be contracted to do all the above. We can hire you land. We can provide a service of pen construction. We provide services of pasture growing. We provide services of dam constructions and borehole constructions. We provide services of pasture harvesting and planting. I've talked about that. But most importantly, we provide you with the best breeds with known sources of goats. Wow. Putting all that aside, we go to the most important one, and this is farm management. Now, many people have farms. Many people have set up farms. But one of the challenging factors that is taking them down is poor farm management. They have the best breeds, the best pastures ever be. They constructed the best goat pens ever be. They have the best vets. But the management on the farm is very poor. As we told you, YPA is here as a problem solver. Now, you allow me go slightly deep into the farm management package in YPA. When it comes to farm management, this is where you've set up your farm and you feel you want professionals to come and take over. So that this reduces on your stress. This reduces on the pressures that you have. This reduces on the losses that you would have made when only the good goats are disappearing from your farm. Even when you have the cameras, even when you have the security. Work with professionals so that you get professional results. So, when it comes to farm management package, this is how it goes. In YPA, you can contract YPA at a fee, a monthly fee. I can still elaborate. From 1 to 50 goats, you pay between 500 to 700. I'm in 2025. This is September. So you may watch this video in 2030 and the prices you think they will be the same. You say, I saw William speaking about this. This is just for the record. We are in September 2025. It's when I'm speaking this, just for the record. So at the moment, if you have 1 to 50 goats, you pay between 500 to 700 Ugandan shillings, 700,000 Ugandan shillings. From 50 to 100, that is 700 to 1 million. Giving you the ranges. From 100 to 250, that is between 1.2 to 2 million. From 250 to 500, that is 2.2 to 3.5. You get the ranges, but of course, we can always come and we discuss. We make a memorandum of understanding and we start working. Those are the ranges, those are the prices, and the increase according to the increase in number. That is the first package. The second package is where the first one, remember, you as a client, you're providing the welfare of these managers on your farm. You only pay YPA to cater for their salaries. You get the point? The second package, this is where YPA caters for the welfare of the workers and also the salaries of the workers. With this package, the client takes 70%, while YPA takes 30% of the profits, not of the investment. But when YPA is catering for the welfare of the workers and the salaries of the workers, YPA will take 30%, you will take 70% of the profit, not of the investment. Now, when YPA is catering for the medication of the goats, is catering for the salaries of the workers, is catering for the welfare of the workers. All you would have done as a client is just providing the pastures, the goats, the pens, everything on ground, and you hand over the project to YPA. Then we cater for everything: the medication of the goats, the welfare of the managers, and the salaries of the managers. That means that YPA will take the 70 and you will take the 30. So we have all those three packages well stipulated. It's upon you as a client to come and see which one is much more better for you, and we go into business. When you want to set up a farm with YPA, we always ask for membership, and that is 100K. After you becoming a member, we go for a site visit. That is the farm management bit of it in YPA. I think for today, for this episode, we are going to end here. Then in our next episodes, we shall come and specifically dwell onto a particular part. What is the best land? How does it look like? What are the best pastures, and how do you plant them? What is the best goat pen, and how do you construct it? What materials do you need? What are the best water reservoirs that you can have on your farm? All this will be maybe in our next episode. For today, allow me end here. My name is Chesla William Wilberforce Nadiope. Call me Kavuzi, and I will reward you with immediate effect. YPA, for God and my country.